Finally, we get something that's a little bit more closer to home, if you will. I'm getting closer to my something. Anyway, Annabelle comes home. The perfect mix of fun, thrills, and terror. Says Brandon Davis of comicbook.com. Determined to keep Annabelle from wreaking more havoc on innocent victims, demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren locked the possessed doll in the home's special artifact room. Their home, placing her behind sacred glass. But when the doll escapes and awakens the room's evil spirits, she conjures up an unholy night of terror for the Warren's daughter and her friends as they desperately battle to bring Annabelle's reign of terror to an end. Yes, this now we get to see this demon just unleash even more hell in the most delightful way possible. Just a lot of ferrymen, a werewolf, and just summoning some allies in order to take down these three girls. And it's like, yeah, I like this one. I personally, this one is a mishmash of, I guess you could say, 1980s teen horror along with an intense doll. It was like this was the change slash shakeup that the franchise needed, because we've been having all these intensive demons, we've been having nuns, we've been having we've been having cases that have been going on, and it's like, finally, let's get something that's a little bit more personal rather than having such cataclysmic uh, results. But instead, let's just focus more on the girl that's going on here. And it's like, yeah, I like it. It's whenever you get some horror involved going on at home, it's obviously going to make for some interesting bedfellows, I guess you could say. So it's like, what goes on? Okay, inside this artifact room, it's like, yeah, obviously they have the doll that's locked, and it's like, yeah, we don't need that coming in. But when some curiosity killed the cat, curiosity build the cat. In this case, when one of the girls decides to go exploring and releases it, and I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. But this is more of a performance-based movie. Yes, it does have some cliches of the boy who's trying to woo the girl. There's a couple of non-explicit jokes. Let's just say they call it, instead of the word that rhymes with Rex, they call it rock and roll. So it's like, yeah, there's acknowledgement that, there's some tropes and conventions, not cliches, but tropes that happen. But it's not overt. It's there to just pay tribute to it. But in this movie's universe, in this franchise's universe, it's like, it's barely there, which is a refreshing change of pace, and it fits with the overall more funny, comical to a point tone. Bob's Got Balls is the guy who kind of provides the comic relief, but he does end up helping our heroine, what was her name, Janice or Judy or something like that, to be able to, so all the characters here do serve a purpose. It's like, yes, they are a little bit stock, but it's, again, in fact, yeah, where they have, what's her name, McKenna Grace, who plays the daughter, does an absolutely fantastic job of dealing with the subject matter at hand of a truly, what is this, rated R, horror, violence, and terror. It's like, yeah, they managed to really go, like, being able to scream, be brazen, brave, and just managed to put the doll back into the glass case. I'm like, dang, bring her to it. I was like, dang, give her one more appearance, and when the Last Rites movie comes out, jeez, oh Pete, then we've got Madison Iceman and Kathy Sarfi. They do a dang good job as well. It's like when you get the more quieter, tension-filled scenes, you can see their eyes like darting around and looking around at the cameras, looking around at the halls and stuff like that. And it is absolutely um, drenched with enough atmosphere and tension to make you feel like it's like because they're facing against entities. It's like, what do you do? And it's like, yeah, absolutely just intense stuff. And I was like, these girls are no nonsense. I mean, what is the daughter's what, like 12, 11, something like that. Anyway, of course the older ones are like in high school or something. It's like, geez, it's like they go through a lot of crap. I'll say that. But ultimately, it's like in the end, daughter she wasn't going to have any like friends appear at a birthday party, but at the end with the happy ending, she does, and even the boy apologizes, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for how I acted." And they just make up. It's like it's a happy ending. Yes, it is conventional, but it's conventional in a good way, with it being a mashup and trivia. So I'm like, okay, I like this, and I think it is a nice. I don't want to say distraction, but its own part of separate entity of stuff going on. So it's like we've got the werewolf, we've got a ferryman, we've got an oni, which they say not all ghosts are bad, because I know not all oni are bad in Japanese mythology, of course. But yeah, definitely scenes with the ferryman, and we see the coins over the eyes. It's movie makes use of the atmosphere, the camera, the scenes where it's like, here's the doll, here's the doll, like right here, here's the human, and one shot is gone. Of course, there's a scene they have like a spinning I don't want to say kaleidoscope, but like I forgot what that's called. The four colors, red, green, yellow, light shines through, and we get to see the different forms of the Annabelle demon. That was a nice sight to see. And I'm like, geez, oh Pete, it's like, yeah, a lot of havoc comes in here. It is definitely haunting. Would I say the most haunting? Yes. Out of all the Conjuring, I did feel a little uneased. I mean, granted, it's probably like, what is it, 1:51 in the morning? So, yes. This was Lorraine Warren's. This film is dedicated to her because she passed away at 92 of natural causes, but she was a like a creative consultant, had a lot of say in how the films were produced, and was a fan of the franchise. So I'm like, yes, this movie is indeed dedicated to her, and it feels like this was a good tribute to her, because like Vera and Patrick are not in the film much, which may disappoint some people, but I'm like, kind of glad that we got something different rather than just constantly fighting supernatural forces. This one's more just like the next generation is going to inherit it or whatever, or will be fighting the ghosts, if you will. So yeah, I like that. But its movie is very, very follows some 1980s conventions. I think one that I kind of noticed was Night of the Demons 1 and 2 or something like that. Got a little bit of the same kind of vibe from that, but anyway, I don't know. I just think that this is a good movie. Of course, this ridiculous doll, this disturbing doll, the actual Raggedy Ann, the actual Annabelle doll is locked in a case that sometimes will move positions or something. So I guess that's a really, really bored demon in there. And yeah, it's a Raggedy Ann doll. This movie even pays tribute to that by even featuring a set on, what was it, the dating game, or something like that, some game show where they features that. So it's like, hey, it's like a nod to like the actual doll. So yeah, I don't This is overall a really gosh darn good movie. Yes, it is conventional. Yes, it is a little bit, not cliched, but with great performances, but kind of a weak start. It's like, whoop-de-doo, who cares? It's like you just keep that in mind as you watch Annabelle comes home.